Hello there, my name is H.L.G. Wallace and I am a fantasy writer and occasional poet. And this is Fantasy Talk, my space to just talk about all things fantasy. And yeah, as I'm sure you could tell from the title of it, this is about a ranking of kings, or the ranking of kings, either way. So for this episode, I want to try a different kind of format, because whilst this is only my maybe fourth episode, it's all been very loose and just kind of doing it has been the main thing, not so much about doing it well. So I think what I want to do is initially I want to kind of give an almost synopsis, loose review or opinion on it, and then for people that don't want spoilers, and then after that I'll kind of go into greater detail into all the different reasons why I love it. So I think for an elevator pitch, sales pitch for someone to watch this show would be, I don't know, it is great, honestly. It's great fantasy. It's something where the art style, you would expect it to be quite cutesy, and it can be. There's a lot of crying. Almost all the characters at least one point in the entire show cry. But at the same time, it gets really dark, kind of visually in terms of its gore, but also kind of thematically, or just where characters go or what they've been through. But ultimately, it's about a story of adventure, but just overcoming endless upheaval, because the main character is a character called Boji, who is the son of two giants and the prince to a kingdom. But unlike what you'd think, he's tiny, he has no strength, he's deaf, and he can't talk. But he is the purest character you'll come across. He's just the sweetest little boy. Because I don't know how old he is actually, but he's a literal child and he's tiny. And it's just him kind of training up, doing what he can in this world that's just so kind of inherently against him. And at the end, he comes through as the hero of the day. But I don't know, that's not a spoiler, but he's great. So I mean, at least for this recording, whatever, that's my kind of elevator pitch for why you should watch Ranking of Kings. Now, to get into the nitty gritty. Boji is honestly one of my favourite characters. And I don't know, I feel like I kind of relate to him a bit. I was definitely, not to turn it about me, but when I was a poorly kid, and I don't know, there's something about kind of seeing a character who is just kind of going through it, even though he's a good person, and I don't know, just going through shit because that's how he was born. I guess that's kind of the relation. And so at the beginning of the show, it kind of seems like everyone's against him because he's got the new queen, not his mum, the step queen or whatever, seems like an absolute hard ass, and she seems really cruel and kind of uppity because Boji's got a younger brother, called Dida, who is proper. He's giving kind of Joffrey vibes at the beginning at least, and so it's all kind of vying about, everyone's kind of against him, but and then through some various means, Boji ends up getting mugged by this character called Kage, who's literally just a little ink blob, where he's got two eyes, and then he can grow out these hands, or he's got this little kind of pincer looking mouth which he can talk from. But for whatever reason, he can understand Boji, because Boji can kind of talk, but it's just kind of like baby talk. So you like, there's sometimes where he'll say stuff, and even you as the viewer will understand what he's talking about, mainly because of like context. But for the most part, he will kind of just talk in this baby talk, and like no one will have any idea, but Kage can understand him perfectly. So throughout the show, Kage becomes like his translator, because surprise, surprise, they become like best buds, and yeah, and it's so cute, and it's so sweet, and it's so brutal sometimes, because like the way it kind of comes about is, I think Boji's just kind of does what he wants. Like, he's a very capable kid, and like no one really gives a shit because everyone just sees him as like the idiot prince. So the way he meets Kage is like he's just in some rooms on the outskirts of the kingdom, and Kage's just like, give me all your clothes. And he's like, sure, because like for Boji, he's just so happy to have someone understand him, like literally. And kind of he sees Kage almost immediately as a friend, even though Kage is just like, who is this moron? And then kind of over time, Kage kind of hangs about because he keeps getting Boji to come back and like give him clothes and kind of just steal his shit. But obviously for Boji, like that doesn't matter to him, so it's a happy exchange. But basically it all turns around when there's a fight between Boji and Daida using like wooden swords. But it's one of those things where I don't know, like I feel like it's a very relatable thing for like people that I don't know. I mean, essentially, are like neurodivergent, because in this fight, Boji, who has no physical strength, dodges like anything. Like, he can't be touched, but when he strikes back, it's just like a little bonk. Like, he doesn't do anything. And then in the end, he's kind of shamed into like not dodging and then fighting one-on-one. And Daida just beats the absolute shit out of him, and everyone just stands and watches. But from that point on, because Kage is like in the castle and he happens to see it, from that point on, when like Boji's kind of bound and like beaten, Kage's like, he gets it. He understands who like Boji is, and from that point he's just like, I'm on your side, like I'm your kind of forever ally. And they both cry. It's really like beautiful and sad and touching. But yeah, and then kind of from there, like various things happen. Like Daida ends up getting the crown because their dad, who's a giant, ends up dying kind of just of old age, and that really sets into motion like the whole story, really, because there's a lot of like side characters, and there's a thing called like the Big Four, where it's Bebin, who's a swordsman, and he's got this relationship with it was originally a 3-headed snake, but you only ever see it with 2 heads because the middle one was cut off, and then out of the 2 heads, all but one eye has been like gouged out or like cut out. But because of that, basically Bebin is like a master swordsman, but he just has this like legion of snakes, like normal sized snakes, to like help him out with stuff. So that he's in the Big Four. Arpiece is the other one, who's the Spear of the King. And Arpiece is a weird character because he's a bit of like, I don't know, he's just a bit of, not like, I want to say prude, but it doesn't really kind of make sense. Like, he's just a bit uppity. But there's actually a fight between, like, when I originally watched The Ranking of Kings, because I'm currently rewatching it and I haven't even finished it, but obviously I know the ending. It was years ago, after like a hard kind of life event, and I was really sad, and I just binged it in like 2 days or something, because there's like 33 episodes, I think, and yeah, but like I can't remember initially what I think. Like, the reason I initially watched it is like, I'm always on the search for new fantasy, but I think I saw the fight between Arpiece and Bebin, and yeah, and that kind of like tipped me off on how cool it could be. Because the thing is, with the animation, it can be hit and miss, feels a bit mean, because it's something where it can be a bit basic at times. and I think that's a common thing with animation in general. Like there's, I think there's a name for it, like animation budgets or whatever. But yeah, sometimes it can kind of be a bit basic, or they can kind of like repeat stuff. But then, obviously, a lot of the focus goes into the fight scenes, because there's quite a few fight scenes, and like the fights are always like fluid and beautiful. And yeah, the fight between Arpis and Bedon is kind of no exception. So yeah, so they're two of the big ones. Dorsha is another one, and he's just like a hench dude who's the guardian of the Queen Hilling, who is Boji's, and Boji's stepmom died as actual mum. And then there's, oh my god, what's his name? Dorsha? No, it's not Dorsha. Oh, there's another one. I can't remember his name. It's alright, I probably won't use this recording anyway. Who's like another master swordsman. And yeah, and like all the character designs are really cool. Like everyone's super distinct. And I think that really plays into the whole kind of art style of the show. Because it's something where like everything's really colourful and everyone's kind of, like I was saying, very distinct in their kind of styles. Let's say with like Bebin, he's kind of got like this like longish hair, but he's got like this really like long pointy tash. And our piece is like got his like hair parted and neat, and Dorsha is just bald. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where you could see like an outline or kind of just a colour palette, and you'd kind of figure out who it is, which I think is a very powerful thing in terms of like the storytelling. And yeah, and there is that kind of weird dichotomy, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, between kind of this art style where it is, everything kind of feels like weekend cartoons, and I mean, like it feels a bit kiddie, and obviously with the main character being a kid, you'd think it'd be like very safe for like children to watch, but I don't actually know what the age rating for this is. It definitely can't be a kids show, because it's, yeah, like there's a lot of kind of dark shit. I'm trying to think, like there's a character called the Sword King of the Underworld, which is jumping way ahead, but he's this like a mortal swordsman who kind of, I don't know, he like takes people, like he can like paralyze you, and then at one point he kind of gets into a fight with a guy, and he severs like his not limbs, but his nerves or whatever, and like his hands and his feet, so he just he can't like hold his sword, or he can't walk, and he just stabs him in the back and then just stands and watches him like slowly bleed out, and it's really really messed up. But there's also like other stuff, like there's an orc character, and in part of his background you find out that like he took the side of the humans, and then part of the humans' ploy for like to win a war was to like torture a baby orc, and it's just really really upsetting to like see. So yeah, again, it's a weird art style for like the kind of story it is, but yeah, oh man, like honestly, this is kind of, I think, one of my favorite shows. It's something where like, especially anime, like, and it's something I hadn't watched in so long, because I kind of felt, I don't know, like I think I kind of did forget about it for a bit, but I think also there was a part of me of like, would it be good like the second time round, and where it had been, because I think it'd been like 3 years, say, so that's, I feel like, enough time to kind of forget like the minor moments. You always like remember the major moments, but like the storytelling still really holds up, and kind of all these things, and yeah, so it's the kind of the general arc of the story is essentially Boji's kind of refused the crown after his dad dies, and then he wants to go on an adventure, and they kind of like humour him and just like send him on his way with a couple of soldiers, or a couple of knights, and then through kind of various means you find out that through various means. Basically, they try and kill Boji, and they try and throw him in a pit of fire, and Kage happens to like be hiding away, so he saves him, and yeah, that's kind of like the real turning point in Boji's story, because it's something where I think even once kind of Boji realizes that Kage's been with him, because there's a whole thing where like you think Kage's been banished and all this kind of stuff, but like he secretly was looking after Boji. And it's but it's a moment, like there's a point where again they're crying and Kage's like, we have to be big boys now, like we can't, there's no turning back. Well, literally they're trapped in a pit, but two, it's like the people that you kind of were journeying with from your kingdom have betrayed you, so there's no turning back. And so then he goes down to the underworld, and I really like the underworld as well, because again there's weird vibes to this stuff where at points it gets really dark, but then for the most part it's really light and funny, and like there's in the underworld there's like a city, and then all these people, all like these creatures kind of live there together, but like the designs of them are crazy and they just look like mad monsters, but then they're just like having a pint at a pub kind of thing. And then but the main kind of reason they're there is they're there to train with the prince of the underworld, a guy called Despa. And Despa's great because like he's such an interesting character. He's basically what he is. He's a strategist and like a trainer, and he's like a real intellectual, but he has no fighting prowess like whatsoever. And I think every fight you see him in, he just gets his ass kicked. But he's like essentially the only person in this world that could have trained Boji to become like the badass he ends up becoming. Because unlike one of the big four that I can't remember his name of, who tried training Boji, like he tried training Boji in a way of like just training any person. But the thing with Boji, and again this is like the spoilery part, is that the reason Boji is so small and kind of so weak is because he was born kind of cursed, essentially. So both his parents, King Boss, and I can't remember if they say his mum's name. Either way, if they do, it's like once or twice. Both his parents are giants, basically, and they're both like strong warriors as well. So they're like, being a giant, you'd be strong anyway, but like a strong giant is going to be like obscene. And the kind of instance of Boji's like birth was purely so that Boss could become more powerful. Because even before Boji was born, Boss, his dad, when he was just a warrior, made a deal with a demon to become stronger. And it's so again, you think it's this whole thing of like Boji's a child of giants, he would have some strength to him, but he has none whatsoever, nor the capability of growing any, because he's cursed. And it's really interesting because it's something, I feel like a different story would have been about lifting the curse. It would have been about becoming what he should have been instead of embracing who he is, which is really interesting. Because all of like, especially at the beginning, before like Boji kind of goes on this journey, or he has like a character arc, or he has his training, he's still like a very capable kid. Like so they're like three-headed snake thing that Bebin is, I don't know, but Bebin's the master of this three-headed snake, or this two-headed snake. But Boji saved it years ago, I think before they met Bebin. So they have like this kindred kind of, they're very close. But like, so when Boji was just like the idiot prince, the two-headed snake kind of taught Boji how to like dodge. So basically Boji's like untouchable. and he's really nimble, because even there's like flashbacks to when Queen Healing's trying to like connect with him, and he's like refusing, and he's just like this tiny little podgy little baby with just like a squidgy face, and she like can't catch up to him because he would just do parkour like up a wall, just run away. So that's the thing, it's an interesting story because he's always had that like agility, he's always had that capability, but he's never been able to be offensive. He's always been defensive because he has no strength. So with Despa, what they kind of do is it all goes about like pressure points, so that, and Boji ends up choosing like a weapon from this like insane armory, which is really cool, and I love that kind of like scene. And then his whole thing after that is like he just does the classic like anime action film thing where like two people charge, there's like a flash of light, and then one of them falls down. Like that's like his move. But yeah, and so like that kind of whole area where they're like training is really sweet. But there's a really funny moment because Boji is the children of giants, and like it's like the only trait he actually keeps from like being like a giant essentially, is that he can't be poisoned, or like he's not susceptible to like any poison. So the way they show that is like part of his training is that like they have to keep the house in check, Despa's house in check. So that kind of initially, Boji being like the kind of selfless kid he is, gets up super early, he does all the cleaning, and then he does the cooking, like he cooks breakfast. But like it's such a fun scene because one, he's a child, two, he's a prince, and like three, he's a giant. So like he has no idea how to cook. So he's literally throwing in like whole eggs, whole carrots without like peeling it or anything. Like he's just making this concoction. And then when they wake up, when Despa and Kage wake up to have breakfast, they're like, oh, what's this? And like Boji eats it, and it's literally like purple, and it's got like stink lines, and it's just like looks inedible, and they eat it. Or like, oh yeah, Boji eats some, and he's like, oh my god, it's amazing. And then Despa and Kage are like, well, it must be fine. And then they eat it as well, and they basically like almost die. And it was like from that point, Despa kind of does some research, and he's like, giants, because they just eat like people whole or like a building whole, like their stomachs are like super strong, so they can't be poisoned. And the way the scene ends, it's just like, you know what this means, and it's acting as if he's like a secret assassin. So it's like they end up being kind of like he's not allowed to cook anymore. And and it's great. It's like, that's the thing, there's so much humor in it, like not only kind of in the like dialogue, but like physical humor. There's loads, and it's really, really good. And but like there's stuff as well, like the kind of the Knights of the Underworld are these like big imposing dudes, and they've got like horns on their helmets and stuff. And it's a really nice little touch that I liked about their armor, is that for the most part they're kind of, I don't know, it's kind of Romanesque, but it's less kind of layered, but they're just like wide as hell, and they're golden, but for the most part they've all kind of got the same design. But then there's maybe like 5 or 6 of them who either have like a rank or are just like distinguished in some way, so that their helmet has like a slight variation. Like the captain of the knights has kind of a lightning strike over one of his like eye slits, kind of taken out of it. Then another one's kind of got 2 kind of triangles around his mouth that looks like a tash. I think there's one's got like a cross, and there's some others, but it's just a subtle thing, because it's like, obviously with kind of a band of knights or kind of an army of knights, you don't need to know like all of them, so it's a nice little thing just to kind of like break them out of the pack. And so like I don't really know kind of what else to say other than kind of breaking down the whole story like I did with Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which I don't really think is kind of the point of this. But it's just something where, like, as a story as a whole, it's honestly beautiful. Like, I think that's probably the easiest way for me to like describe it, because it is just someone. Like, the main character is Boji, but I feel like everyone kind of comes out their shell a bit, because when you initially meet them, like, everyone softens up a bit, and I think it's something of, it's not necessarily something of like everyone kind of finds themselves, because I don't think that's the journey everyone's on. I think that's definitely Boji's journey, because I think in a sense, like, actually in the last episode I just watched, which is like episode 20 or something, someone talks about like Boji's confidence, and it's like, you always had confidence in yourself, but like not like you do now. Like, you've become like an imposing figure. But there's stuff like kind of Kage is, so like Kage's whole deal, I haven't really spoken about Kage much, is he's part of like the Shadow Clan, who were like these assassins, and they were betrayed, and as far as you know, like, he's the only member of the assassin clan left. But so like the beginning, because he's just been like shunned his whole life. Like, and there's a really upsetting flashback to like when all the Shadow Clan are kind of like killed, and like his mum's killed, and it's just like a whole thing. But like, basically from that point he was like on his own. Like, no one cared for him, no one looked after him. But so he became like this cutthroat. He became like the thing you'd expect him to be, because everyone just immediately sees him as like an assassin, because that's what they were like used as in the Shadow Clan. So again, like when Kage first meets Boji, he mugs him. He mugs him for his clothes, and he sees him as this like naive kid, and like kind of just sees it as like an easy deal to get some money. But then by the end of it, it's like he's Boji's biggest supporter. Like, he's like, I mean, Kage is capable enough, although he doesn't really ever fight. Like, early on he did some stuff, but it's mostly kind of like panicked, kind of just like throwing a knife or like trying to run and stuff like that. Like, he's not really the fighter, but he'll be like in the middle of a fight, literally kind of giving Boji a pep talk when he's like down himself and stuff. And yeah, but like, so it's one of those things where like he kind of does a 180 in the terms of like, he has no compassion for anyone, and then by the end of it, his whole character is compassion. And like Queen Hilling, like, I love Queen Hilling, and they also call her Hilly, which is really cute. So like, I think the first time you meet her, because basically when your introduction to Boji is him walking through the kingdom in his pants, because Kage had like stolen his clothes, and like he does it a couple of times, and everyone kind of mocks him outwardly because they don't think he can like understand them. Because that's the other thing, Boji being like way smarter than everyone thinks he is. He can read lips. Like, he is deaf and he can't talk, but he can read lips. And then like the queen basically finds him in his pants, and she's just like, this is some kind of royal behaviour, you're a disgrace kind of thing, and just like is basically a bitch to him. And she's kind of, even at the end, she's a bit like, she holds on to that, but you can tell like, and you learn a lot about her character, or at the very least her relationship with Boji, and it's so sweet, and like there's so much love there. And it's something where, I don't know, I can't remember her background. Like, they vaguely spoke about it, but I think she is like a noble woman. Like, she comes from that anyway. So she's very much used to like that whole kind of attitude. But it's something where she's kind of, like a bit of a hard ass. But then the kind of reveal is that she's a magician, and she becomes like the kind of story's healer. But also I like in the fact that, I don't know, like there's a lot of kind of interesting characters, but Hilling makes me think of, there's a video from Polygon. I don't know her name, but this woman from there is talking about like female anime characters and how like a lot of female anime characters can't be like gross or like human in the way that you are, because like I don't know, if you're like sad or upset or like straining yourself kind of physically, then you're not going to be like attractive. And in the kind of Polygon video, they're talking about Jessie from Pokemon and how she just like looks insane, but like Killing is the same thing in that she is very kind of like regal and put together, but because of her like maybe lack of magical ability or whatever, whenever she casts a spell, she literally has to like strain herself, and she's just like really forcing it out, and it's just so it's so like unregal and like queenly that I love it so much. And yeah, and it's like there's a lot of stuff where she kind of at one point she kind of has an argument with Kage, and then immediately realizes that she was in the wrong, and instead of apologizing, she gets Dorsha, like her guard, to apologize for her and stuff. And yeah, and so like there's just it's a really, really well made story, and as far as I know, it's just kind of a one and done. I don't think they intend, whoever made it, I don't think they intend to like keep it going or do a spin-off. And to be honest, I don't think I'd want that either, because I haven't read the manga, but I've seen some of the art, and it is quite, I don't know, like I think it's something where it's a bit more simplistic than I kind of would have expected kind of going in, and it's something I would be interested in reading it, but just to see like how the characters are different, or if there's like anything missed or anything like that. But for now, I'm very, very happy with kind of what I've got with like the show. And yeah, and I'm trying to think what else there is to say. Like, I think it's just something where it's a perfect weekend show. If you want to binge something, the episodes are like basically like 20 minutes. If you cut out like the intro and the outro, it's probably like 20-21. So they're quite short, and like I said, there's only like 33 of them. But it's just something where I don't know if it's kind of follows the hero's journey or anything like that, but it's not like a world spanning story. Like there is kind of journey, and like Boji goes on his journey, goes to the underworld, but it ends where it began, in like the Kingdom of Boss. And I think in that kind of way, it's a very like tight story. It's nice kind of, because the whole kind of story revolves around like this kingdom and like people vying for it and messing with it and doing this stuff. And yeah, and so like it's a very kind of like tight story that has a lot of compassion for its characters, but also has a great emphasis on like, I don't know, like exploration, but like combat, and like I said, there's magic. And I think like in terms of magic, there's very little actual magic. I think the only magic you see is from healing and the other character, which I won't go into because I think she's a cool character kind of to discover in the show, but she has one of the best names just of anything. There's a character called Moranjo, which is just such a sick name. But so those are the only two like magicians, I'd say. But for the most part, most of the like fancy elements come in their like the characters, the creatures, because there are like, you see some dragons and you've got giants, and there's just weird characters which I think are made up or like really obscure. And at one point there's like these creatures which are kind of like mixed between like dogs, but they have like the body of like tigers, and they have like horns and stuff. They're really weird, but they're cool. And yeah, so it's something where it's fairly quick to finish. It's you go on a real journey throughout it, and it'll probably make you like laugh a lot. You'll probably cry, and you'll feel very like satisfied by the end of it, because Boji is like the one true king. Like I love Boji to death. He is the greatest character, and he's so cute and he's so badass. And yeah, so I think I can't really think of anything else to say for it, really. Like, I don't think it needs any more of an upsell. So yeah, so if you like fantasy, if you like kind of shortish anime series, and you want to get to know the characters I've talked about even more, then yeah, check out the Ranking of Kings. So I've been H.L.G. Wallace, and you can find me on Substack as H.L.G. Wallace. And yeah, I hope you have a nice day, and go watch that show. Bye.